Hey, so in this video we're going to discuss how to improve portraits on Procreate. Like if you're a digital painter and you like drawing portraits, I think this video will help you out, so let's get started right away. Okay, so the first thing that I wished I paid attention to while I was starting out was the dimensions of my canvas. Like, I used to have an A4 canvas when my reference was like a square image, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but you're going to have a much easier time if the canvas size and the dimensions of the reference that you're drawing is the same. About the dimensions thing, let me defend my case. So, if you know Lumen's method, you can easily sketch out anything, but this video, I really want to focus on painting and how to get better at that. And the sketching bit is just something that if you're good at, then you should try out different ways in which you can be more efficient in making that. Like, artists even use projectors and they trace images before they paint on big canvases because it's not cheating. First of all, like, some people have that notion that it is cheating if you trace and if you're using grid method or something like that, but it is really not cheating. You're just being more efficient and doing something faster that you're already good at. Like, you're already good at sketching, so why not just get that out of the way first? So by compartmentalizing, I mean that the aspect ratio should be 1:1 for reference image as well as the canvas. Like, I did the same thing in this drawing. I didn't even use grid method. I've done this enough to be like 90 to 95% accurate each time. And with the digital tools, you can easily have that liquify tool adjust and readjust those proportions later on. So you have that working for you. After you've sketched out the basic proportions, you can see that in this part of the video, I have basic colors blocked out in the background, and I'm trying out the colors in the face. So a big tip that I wish I knew earlier was work on the painting as a whole when you're like an hour in. Like, don't focus too much on the details. Like, I'm using the biggest brush possible, as you can see. Using the biggest brush that you can in the earliest stages helps you focus on, well, the basic form and studying the environment that you're drawing. And you can even take an average, like the cheeks kind of turn inwards when you're going down, and you can use that to your advantage. Squint your eyes and see the basic average color that is present. You can see that the cheeks kind of turn in, so I know for a fact that the area under her eyes is going to be lighter than the area under her cheeks. And well, painting is really just that. You're making comparison and then you're putting down the colors. When people are first starting out, including myself, I used to get super hyped up when I started painting. Like, I was like, I'm gonna sit down and make the best painting ever. And then I would be zooming in and think to myself, like, okay, I'm going to have every detail captured in my painting. And maybe at some stage you would be able to do that, but when you're starting out, I don't think that's a good idea. You want to be able to represent the subject with the basic brush possible. And the way to do that is squinting your eyes. Obviously, you can zoom in when you're drawing some detailed areas like I'm doing here with the lips, but all in all, you want to be zoomed out of the canvas and yeah, work that way in the earlier stages and work your way inwards, if that makes sense. Like, if you have any doubts, you can comment down below and I'll try my best to answer you guys. But yeah, that's how you should go about it. Working this way can be tricky, I know, but well, there's also a catch here, right? You can be wrong in the earlier stages. But hey, don't quote me and just put some completely different color in your painting. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying make your best effort and take a stab at the best color that you think will reflect the part that you're drawing of the reference. Even if you're like, I don't know, 60 to 70% accurate with that color choice, I think you can easily fix that later on. And the way to do this average color method that I'm saying with the biggest brush is to squint your eyes. So when you squint your eyes, you can kind of see the colors get kind of blurry and you're seeing an average value. Like, if you were to zoom all the way into your reference, you can see various colors. Like, you can even see violet or purple or greens in the face, and you really cannot represent that in the drawing. It's like this blurry image that you're seeing right now. The colors kind of make an average and then you have an easier time representing them. Because if you go about it in the way like, okay, I'm going to zoom in and represent every color, then I don't think that's going to work out very well for you. And it is okay if you cannot figure out the colors that are existing in the reference. See, the thing with nature is that really saturated colors that come out of the painting tube or you see in the color wheel, they don't really exist. Like, I think that green is the most saturated color that you'll find in nature. That is the tree leaves. And Other than that, it's really, really unnatural. Especially if you're drawing portraits, right? Have you ever seen a face that is totally cadmium red? Any part of it is cadmium red or like super blue? No. In real life, these colors exist. I'm not saying they don't exist, but they are super desaturated in the drawing. I'm sorry, the painting. I don't know why I keep doing that. If you want to check it out for yourself, you can just use the eyedropper tool in Procreate or any other drawing software that you use. And even in this drawing, I can see some yellows in the forehead, and I've obviously accentuated the saturation in this drawing so you can easily see the yellow that exists in the forehead and the nose. But yeah, you can use this to your advantage. Like each color, when it moves closer to the gray area, they start looking similar. So if a color is really saturated and you desaturate it with its complementary color, then it's going to move towards the gray area, and that's when they start looking really, really similar. You can still obviously find out like there's a hint of red or hint of blue, but again, they kind of look similar when they move towards the gray, so you can use that to your advantage. And that brings me to my next point, and that is that the values are more important than the colors that you're using. Obviously, there's going to be a color scheme in the faces, like usually the forehead is more yellowish, the middle part of the face is more reddish, and the bottom part below the nose is kind of blue in nature. But obviously, that is not going to work out for each painting that you're going to make. It's just a color scheme. Like the pillars in the house, the structure is the same, but the interior designing can be really, really different. But again, I'm drifting away from the topic. Values are more important than the choice of colors. Like, don't just take a blind shot at the colors, obviously, I'm not saying that, but keep values as a higher priority thing than the colors. And when you have done this, when you've laid out the basic foundation with colors, and you can easily figure out by seeing the portrait that where the light source is, where the light is coming from, which part of the face is in shadows, and which part of it is receiving light, then you can move inwards. And by inwards, I mean focusing on details. But again, take as much time as you need. Unless you're doing a quick 30-minute color study, I don't really see a reason where you don't give yourself enough time for the first stage. And when you're done with that, then you can focus on the details. And this is where you can make adjustments to the various colors. Like I told you before that the cheek kind of moves inwards, and I'm just trying to figure out what kind of edge do I want in this part. And again, hard edges and soft edges, I assume that if you're drawing portraits, you already know. But hard edge is where you directly see a line where the form changes, and a soft edge is represented by a subtle shift in changes of planes, like in the cheek area, where the form is kind of turning inwards and it's going from planes which receive light to a plane which is not receiving as much light. And yeah, you can spend as much time as you want on these. And also, don't focus too long on just a singular area. Like, keep zooming out of the canvas and see if the picture is still cohesive and that you're not really making decisions which don't really make sense to the other story. And by story, I obviously mean it's the portrait. It should fit in the portrait in the lighting conditions. If you're just starting out, or even if you've been doing this for a while, then I would still recommend that you have that phase in your journey where you push for quantity over quality. And again, I'm not saying that you should not focus on fully rendered images, fully rendered paintings, and you should have that idea, okay, so this is how an eye socket looks like, and this is how you represent hair. But again, quantity over quality for the most part in the starting stages is really important. Like for the first part, you want to get good at sketching. If you're focusing too much hours or even days on end where you're just focusing on fully rendering an image but the sketch is all wrong, then it doesn't really make sense. Especially the skills that are required to make the drawing, first of all, is really different than, well, rendering the drawing. Even if you're really good at rendering but your drawing is shit, then it doesn't really make sense. So focus on quantity over quality. Make portraits and set yourself a timer for like 2 hours, maximum 3 hours, and just do a quick color study. I already explained how you should go about seeing the average value and kind of seeing the average color in a painting, and I think you should just focus on doing that and learn how to see and observe things. Learn how to see the average color and learning how to unsee things as well. Learning how to unsee the subtle hints of green or violets in the painting and seeing the average value. So I think I would call it at this point, and I hope something in this video helped you out. If there's any confusion or you have any problems that I could fix maybe, then comment down below, and I pretty much answer to every comment. So yeah, see you in the next video.